a lot of people that take their faith pretty seriously have never actually read the whole Bible. And you will bump into stuff that's like, what is this?
Welcome back to the Men of Iron podcast. This month we are talking about faith, which makes up one of our core 5 here that we believe in at Men of Iron. We're starting with this one because we think it's the most important. I think it really affects all the others in our core 5, really. But today, Ryan and I are going to jump into a little bit. We talked last time a little bit about faith as like a big umbrella, 30,000 feet, what that looks like. But now we're going to kind of get dialed in, like what we can actually do to help that, grow that, practical steps. Like, where do I start? Like, maybe we talked about, grading ourselves 1 to 5. Where do I land on that? And maybe I'm at that 0, or maybe I'm at that 3. And how can I grow that? So we just Ryan and I today just both want to kind of break it down a little bit of what's a simple step? What are simple steps? Where do I start? What's it look like? And where do I go from there?
It's funny, in our man's game plan, so like our small group series that we offer, it's kind of like an overview of our core 5. We hit these disciplines and it's like rapid fire. Yeah. Every man should, pray, journal, read the Bible, take solitude. It's like, okay, let's slow down. Let's dive into these, which happens in discussion always around those topics. But, I think one of the things we're going to hit from the top, like we already defined last week, you got to take your faith seriously. You're designed for relationship with God. You can't have relationship with God outside of a relationship with Jesus. He paid for your sins. He gives you forgiveness and right relationship with God. So that's how you're meant to walk. And so really what we're drilling into is, okay, we get it. Faith is important. How do I go about taking my faith seriously? And so I think at the top of this discussion, I think one of the ways you take your faith seriously is you got to start to read God's word. Yeah. It's a gift from God that we have his word. But I think sometimes the way people get it twisted, and some of you might already be feeling it in yourselves, it's like, what are you saying? I got to read the Bible just to have right relationship with God? Nope. Actually, no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is one of the best things we can do to understand God is read the words that he's given to us. I've heard other guys say like one of the primary ways that God speaks to us is through the word that he's ensured that we have. And it's not an earning thing. So hear me very, very clearly. This is not something we do to earn relationship with God. It's actually something that enhances our relationship with God. And so if you want to get serious about getting to know who God is, if you want to get serious about knowing what you can do to honor him in your life, you got to read the Bible. You got to read what he's given to us. Yes, I mean the whole thing. I get it. It's a lot. You don't start with the whole thing. We talk all the time about small, simple, achievable goals. But I really do think if you want to take your faith seriously, you really should read the whole Bible. I'm talking like Genesis to Revelation. Please don't hear me in like a legalistic way. What I mean to do is just come across in a relationship kind of way. Like this is what God's given us to know who he is. One of the ways we even know what faith is because God's explained it in the Bible. So I think it's a great place to start.
And those like what we were saying before about having that relationship a little bit, like how do I know who God is? Okay, God. Yeah. But how do I know what his character and his nature is if I don't read the word? Yeah. Like I don't know what actually grace is, or like we can read time and time again through Jesus's life. You can see how many times he gave grace to people. Yep. Or there was mercy, or these things happen. And we think to ourselves, well, I messed up, so I can't, like we talked about earlier, like I messed up, so God doesn't love me anymore. Yeah. You can see time and time again, Jesus called them back, or he healed somebody. You can see it all these different times when that stuff was happening throughout the Bible. But yet we sit back and we're like, well, God doesn't do that for me. No, that's why we got to read the word and be in the word so we can understand who God is, that he loves and he does care for you. And he keeps calling us back to him.
Yeah, it's the primary way that he reveals himself. I do know, like, God, I believe God speaks to people. I believe God reveals himself to people. I believe there's supernatural things that happen that get people's attention. But I think like one of the just regular, easy, accessible ways to get to know God is to read the Bible. And again, it's a way that you enhance your relationship with God. So the way that I like to explain this sometimes is I started dating my wife, Jenny, officially. That's a whole other story. I won't give you the lead up. But we started officially dating in like January, which is a terrible idea because if you start dating someone in January, you have to figure out what to get them for Valentine's Day, February 14th. So just wait until like February 15th to start dating. So I had to figure out what to get her, but I was just getting to know her. And so it was like this miserable, excruciating experience because I like knew that I wanted to show appreciation to her, but I didn't know anything about her. And so the way this actually played out in my actual life is like I went and bought this like way over the top like flower assortment thing that had like a coffee cup that came with it and this like stupid stuffed gorilla that you could like squeeze and it made noise. And it sat on my table in my apartment for, I don't know, a couple days. And I was so stressed. I was like, she's going to hate this. I'm so convinced she's going to hate this. So I took it out back and I threw it out in a field and it was just like, forget that thing. So then I went to a Giant and I got a bunch of chocolates. And then I was like, wait, I can't get her chocolate. She's going to think that like, I don't know, I'm saying something bad about her. Or it's like, I can't eat all this or whatever. So I brought it home. I lived with a bunch of guys. I let them eat the chocolates. Finally, like, I don't know, 10 o'clock on Valentine's Day, I'm like walking around Giant with all the other guys that forgot to get anything. And I just bought like this stupid half wilted bouquet of flowers, which of course she pretended was like amazing. Sure. But the problem there with that whole story is that I had no idea who she was. And I didn't know how to honor her or show appreciation to her. Now, 10, 11 years later, being married for that long, I have a much better idea of what that looks like. I am not stressed anymore about what to get her, to that level probably. Sure. Because I understand more about her. I know more about what she likes. And that's what happens to us as we read the Bible. So it's not a legalistic thing. I know that gets people twisted up in knots sometimes. I'm not saying read your Bible every day or God will hate you. That's silly. But if you want to get to know God and you want to know how to honor God, you got to read the word that he gave us. And sometimes what will happen, a lot of people that take their faith pretty seriously have never actually read the whole Bible. And you will bump into stuff that's like, what is this? I didn't know this was in here. And you'll have to wrestle with your faith. You'll have to wrestle with who God is, what God's revealed about himself, just like you do in any other real relationship. There's been plenty of times that with my wife, I've been like, what is going on here? Yeah. But that's actually what happens as you increase your relationship with somebody. So just like we are with people, we are with God. And one of the best things you can do is read the Bible. And again, like I say, read the whole thing. If you're just getting started in faith, or if you've been around faith for a long time and you've never read the whole Bible, I want to tell you right now up front, like figure out a way to create a goal and invite somebody to hold you accountable to read the whole Bible. Do it together, do it in a group, do it on your own and just have somebody text you or whatever, but read the whole Bible and start small and go big or go home, man.
I love it. That story that you just talked about with Jenny, that I was in the same boat.
Yeah.
Like whenever Morgan and I started dating, and then even a little bit in the beginning, like when we were first together, it was like birthdays, Valentine's Day, all these things. Like, what does she actually really like? Yeah. And then I just bought the gauntlet, just like
the whole thing.
Flowers, chocolates, this. Now it's like I know her so well. I can get her a bag of gummy bears and some flowers, and we're good. Yeah. And that does it because I know her. I know all the other stuff was, she, like you said, probably was just happy I got something. Yep. But also now I know her so well that I could bag gummy bears solves a lot of problems in our house.
Yeah. So the more you read God's revealed word, the better you get to know who he is, the better you get to know how to act and what to do and what to believe, because it's already revealed for us, all laid out. We could get into the weeds on some of the nerdy history stuff, but like the Bible as a piece of literature is like crazy unique. And we have more copies of it from ancient history than any copy of anything else. What's interesting, it's the only piece of ancient literature that people are like, I don't know if we should believe this thing, when there's other pieces of history that we only have like 3 or 4 copies of it, and we're like, oh yeah, that definitely happened. But the Bible is like, we're not sure. And we have thousands of copies of it, and it's like 99.5% consistent across the board. You can look it up. Google will give you better stats than I can, but it's very wild what God has done to make sure that we have what we need to have to be able to know who he is and how to honor him.
As we look, taking that Bible piece, I think that's huge. I think that's really kind of the Kickstarter for it. But then also at Men of Iron, as you were saying, we talk about all these other things that you should be doing as a man as well. Yeah. And one of those for me was solitude. Yeah. We talk about that at Men of Iron. Literally when I first started here at Men of Iron, they give you a half day, go take solitude, spend time with God. And I literally walked in and I asked someone, I'm like, what is solitude? I grew up in church. Like I thought I should know what that is. And I was like, I don't even know. Like, and people were like, how'd your solitude go? I was like, I don't know. Like, I think I did it. I don't know what it looks like. I didn't know what the framework should be. Yeah. I don't know, like, even should I be praying? Should I be just quiet? Should I go for a walk? Like what that looks like. So I would love to dive into that a little bit. Like we preach solitude what is solitude and how do like I apply it in my life and like what makes it so important?
So I would say solitude has different flavors, but it's all the same substance. That's probably not like the best way to explain it, but like it probably looks different for different people, but ultimately what it is like a complete removal from your busyness, and it's silence and solitude. So different people go different places. You know, I've gone to, there's some places that actually do, like you can go rent a room for solitude. There's sometimes people just go out in the woods. Sometimes people like to go to the beach, whatever. I don't know what you like to do. But the goal is to get completely away from the noise. Believe it or not, we live in a pretty noisy society and way of life. And so you just get away from all of it. And what we encourage guys to do is like, hey, if you can leave your phone somewhere, leave your phone somewhere. Don't take it with you because it's the source of lots of distraction. If you can, you know, leave music, like just go in a silent place by yourself, which if you've never done before is like, are you kidding me? So maybe you want to start small, start with like a hour block or a half hour block or something. But ultimately what we encourage people to do is to build up to half a day, try a full day. Because it is really interesting how God actually can speak to us in times of solitude. I personally kind of discovered solitude a couple of years before Men of Iron, and I was going through some of this personality profile stuff. Like there's any number of personality tests you can do, but there was this one that was focused on like who you are as a person and then how you connect to God. And so this test I took revealed that like one of the best ways I can connect with God is solitude. Mm-hmm. So like you, I was like, well, what is that? So I looked into it. I was like, okay, so it's like get away completely. And so I started doing it, and it like blew my mind how amazing it was, because I went into it thinking like, how am I going to do nothing for half a day? Like it's going to be miserable. Like I can't even take a book or anything. Yeah. Which you can take the Bible, you can do a little bit of reading or something. But what I found is when I turned the noise off, it is really interesting how much more ready I was for hearing from God, from evaluating my own life, like from setting goals. You know, like a lot of times I'll use solitude to come out with a clearer set of goals and a clearer way that I want to go, because I've just shut everything down. And especially for guys, you know, guys can tend to be pretty driven, pretty motivated. And one of the things that happens when you're really driven and really motivated is you don't slow down and you don't stop. And when you don't slow down, don't stop, like you don't evaluate either. And so it's a really good pause where you can strengthen your relationship with God. You know, you can study the word, you can pray some, but you can also just clear your head and set some goals, you know, and we have guys that do that in a retreat setting where you take a whole weekend, whatever that looks like. I just really do, like we at Men of Iron, we really do believe in solitude. I think it's really important for every man. And if you've never done it, start small and pursue, you know, a bigger goal. Like if you're listening to this podcast and you've never done solitude, I would challenge you right now, take some time and think about when you could try to pursue just a small amount of solitude. You know, one way that we do it by accident a lot of guys like to hunt. You're sitting in that deer stand, you're not doing anything, you know, hopefully. Maybe you're scrolling on your phone too much. But a lot of guys really like hunting, I think, because the noise is off and you get a chance to just sit and reflect. Think over the last year since you've been out and stand before. So a lot of you probably have some solitude in your life. You just don't realize that's what it is.
I think that solitude piece for me personally was huge.
Yeah.
It was a game changer because to your point, like life is running 1,000 times.
And it's just getting faster, man.
It is. And like even for Morgan and I, like we just had a baby.
Yeah.
So I think it like even like gets cranked up faster once you get kids, life, and just all those different pieces. But actually taking that time to reflect, look at my life. Am I taking my core 5 seriously?
Yeah.
As we preach here, and looking at those, evaluating those, you know, am I actually honestly rating them properly, or am I just faking it because of all these different things? But in my solitude, we were at a retreat and we forced the guys to go to solitude.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, at first you could see their faces. They were like, I don't know. Like, I don't know.
What a waste of time.
Yeah. Like I paid to come to this retreat and you're making me go sit in a corner by myself.
I mean, as a leader of a retreat, it's actually great.
And we put these guys to go to solitude, and we weren't sure how it was going to go because this was maybe the first time for some of these guys. Maybe they have been doing it. We didn't know the true pulse of how they knew about solitude. But when we brought them back together, it was amazing. The responses we got of them, just like either they were in the word maybe a little bit, maybe they just prayed during that time, maybe they set a goal. Guys coming back in tears of actually like being revealed, like I'm not the man that I should be or God has called me to be, and I need to step up in these areas. And it's just amazing. That quiet time can be a game changer.
You can actually track, if you read the Gospels, so Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, you can actually track the life of Jesus. He regularly sought some form of solitude before some major thing in his life happened. And so what I've heard guys teach is that he could anticipate that. He's God. Like, he knew it was coming. And often for the human side and the spiritual side of him, he would go out to a desolate place. A lot of times the Bible calls it a desolate place. He's out in the desert, or he's out in the Mount of Olives, or, he's going different places where he's completely away from people, and he's spending time in solitude, getting ready for the road ahead. And a lot of times when you look in the Gospels, the road ahead just keeps ratcheting up. Like, it gets tougher and tougher, but he's using that time of solitude to strengthen his relationship with God so that he has what he needs to meet the task at hand. And so, I guess one way you could think about it is like training, like the military has boot camp. You got to go to boot camp to get the basic skills you need to be able to meet the task when it comes up. And so if you're taking your faith seriously, you need that time of solitude to strengthen yourself spiritually, to get closer to God so that you're ready for what's coming next. And so I would encourage you again, like, we really believe in solitude. And even if you're looking at some new phase of life that's coming, set a time of solitude before you jump into that. You got a baby coming, you got a new job coming, you got some kind of different change in life. Pick some solitude time, set it on the calendar. Don't schedule anything over it, and just go out, get time with God, pray about what's ahead, and know that he's going to use that time to strengthen you and prepare you for what's coming.
Those two things in there for me. Prayer during my solitude time is always big. Second thing is journaling.
Yeah.
And that may be a wild statement for guys to think of journaling. You go back to like always hearing like it's tucked it under your pillow with all your little secrets in it.
Yeah.
But my journal, I can go in my journal now of stuff during my solitude time or during study that a word, maybe a verse, maybe a saying or a phrase, and I'm just writing it in there. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's something I'm praying for. Mm-hmm. And now it's so amazing now to go back. Mm-hmm. Go back to those old journals that I have, and I literally can check off what God has done in my life. Mm-hmm. And I maybe at that time was struggling with it or didn't have an answer. I didn't know what was going on, but God was working. God was working the whole time in my life. I was taking my faith seriously in it, and I could actually see God starting to answer these prayers. Mm-hmm. And it could be something really small for my life. I was getting married. I had a journal back, like, God, I'm about to become a husband. Like, what do I do? Mm-hmm. Like, what's that look like? How now I'm a father. Mm-hmm. How do I navigate this? How do I do this? But I can go back and see, like, God, give me the grace to be a husband. Give me your love that I can have towards my wife. Like, show me that. Yeah. And I can go back and see where, check, God showed up, took care of this. Check. God showed up and took care of this. And that's why I love journaling so much, and I use it so much for myself now. And I will continue to use it. And because it actually can show me God just showing up time and time again in my faith.
It's interesting. You talk about prayer and you talk about journaling. They seem like probably the lamest, least manly things we could be hashing out on the Men of Iron podcast. Yeah. Like, seriously, like, I actually feel it like, oh man. And we believe in it. Don't get me wrong. We believe in it. You should be in some of these practices. But, it'd be much easier to do a half an hour on killing bears. Yep. Just be like way more like, yeah. One of the biggest historical journal entries we have is the book of Psalms. And it's been, it's in your Bible. You can open to it. So it doesn't feel like it's a journal entry, but it 100% is. And they're David's journal entry thoughts. They're David's prayers. He wrote them down. Let me tell you something about David. This is a war-fighting, bear-killing, lion-killing guy. Yep. And so this is a man's man. He's a tough dude. And you read some of those Psalms, and you're like, what is going on with this guy? What's cool about some of the Psalms, and I will openly admit, Psalms is not, like, sometimes I just have a hard time wrapping my head around it. I'm not a guy that's like, read 6 Psalms a day. I'm like, get me in there and get me out of there. One of the interesting things about it is that there are times where he's praising the Lord for what God has done. There are times where he's like, God, I want you to kill my enemies and destroy the people who hate you. There are times where he's furious with God. So he's just writing out his thoughts, making sense of where he's at. I think he's getting mental clarity and spiritual clarity. And I know journaling is something I've struggled with. I kind of picked it up again recently. I've really enjoyed it recently. It's just a way to help me make sense of my thoughts. Because again, we're busy. There's a lot of stuff going through our heads, and it's really helpful just to jot it down. I don't spend half an hour journaling. I might spend, 5-10 minutes, and they're bullets. They're not paragraphs. It's been incredibly helpful to me to jot some stuff down. And a lot of times I jot down my prayers. Again, not long paragraphs. I'm not writing books. I'm writing bullet points, because I'm also not somebody that naturally wants to just pray a lot throughout the day. So I'm working on that. Walking has helped me do that. So I'll go for a walk in the middle of the day and just remind God about what's on my mind. There's a lot of times on my walks during the day, I'm like, God, you got to do something about this. But it's been really helpful. So those two things, journaling and prayer, they are important spiritual disciplines. They actually will enhance your relationship with God, and they can be hard to do. But again, just like solitude, like try it. Like put some time on the calendar, wake up early in the morning, get it into your daily rhythm, jot some things down, pray about the things you're concerned about, ask the Lord to make you the man that he's calling you to be. It's good to do.
I think in that solitude too, in those prayers and in that journaling, something that I've been trying to do is be very specific.
Yeah.
Like, don't be broad. Like sometimes we can go with like this, well, God, just help my marriage.
Yeah.
Or God, just help me in this area. No, be specific with God.
Yeah.
I think in that it gives like back to the point of have that clarity.
Yeah.
Like I want this taken care of. And like you were saying in Psalms, how David was like, go kill these guys. Yeah. Like I want them out of my life, and they're a pain, whatever it is. Yeah. Like be specific with God, because he already knows. But when you call it out and be specific with it, it's a very precise point. When you go back to look, you'll be able to see it very clearly that God took care of that in your life.
Sometimes I'll write that stuff and then come back to it like, God, I'm really sorry, Dad. I'm glad you worked in my heart, and I don't see it that way anymore.
Yeah.
But it's a thing. And it's helpful when you journal, like you said. You can actually go back, and what you end up having is a record of God's faithfulness in your life. And a lot of guys see it as a way to pass something on to the next generation. It's pretty powerful.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool just to build a legacy of faith that, again, lasts beyond you, because we have this incredible opportunity to build a kingdom that's not our own, and it's going to be around a lot longer than us.
Yeah. And just bring these final points together. I mean, we talked about getting in the Word, getting the Bible, read it, whatever that looks like for you, setting those SMART goals on it. Maybe it's a chapter a day. Maybe it's a couple verses a day. I don't care. I really, personally, I don't care what your SMART goal is, but I just want you to be going after it, number one. And then also, too, we preach it here about solitude. Like, take it seriously. Get and spend time alone. We always talk about EQ is a place that can happen at. But do it on a daily basis. Don't wait until I have to go to EQ to have this time. Like, make it a part of your daily routine. Maybe it's a monthly thing for you where you just set that time aside. We're not saying you got to do it every single day and have this set something that's realistic for you in your life. But then also during that time, really being specific about your prayers, and also in that journaling, just taking that time to write down your thoughts of what maybe God's telling you, or what you've read, or what you're hearing from him. Thanks for joining us this week on the Men of Iron podcast. Below are a bunch of links. Number one is to get connected to our resources. We have some free resources on there. Also on there, we have ways to get connected into groups. We're doing some virtually as well. And then also we'll have some in-person groups. So check those out, get involved. Come join us on this mission to change a culture one man at a time.
Thanks for listening to the Men of Iron podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. At Men of Iron, we exist to change a culture one man at a time, and we'd love to have you partner with us. So go to menofiron.org to see how you can get involved, or donate at menofiron.org/donate.